There he is. Hi, William. He is the real William. Whew. That was close. I didn't know if he was like an alien or something or what. Somebody tuning in from Mars. Someday I heard we might be able to go to Mars. That would be crazy, huh? I wonder if we could still Zoom on Mars. That would be crazy. Okay, we're on page 55 in grammar. Page 55. Talking about verbs today, and you guys know about action verbs. We already mark those in our book, and we use verbs all the time in our writing. But today we're going to be talking about linking verbs mostly. So in week 9, it says you learned about the action verbs. Those are easier to identify. This week, you will learn about linking verbs. A linking verb links the subject to a noun or an adjective. Oh, by the way, when you hear that word links, you can think of like a chain, how it links together, the little rings that link together. So it's actually putting together parts of the sentence. Every verb has a subject. The subject and verb belong together. They're called a pair in this book. Okay, you'll see the subject verb pair is what they're going to say. And then the words below are linking verbs. So here we go. Am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, seem, become, appear, grow, remain. And then these last ones, taste, sound, smell, feel, look. Do those remind you of anything that you know? The last ones there? Yeah, William, what does it remind you of? Taste, sound, feel, smell, feel, look.
The senses.
Yes, the 5 senses. There you go. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are part of the linking verb list. Find the linking verb in the sentence, and then to find the subject, you ask who or what is doing the verb, right? So you look for that verb, and then you ask who or what. And then you're going to write V above each verb and S above each subject. Now, I will tell you for the subject, it will either be a pronoun or a noun. So that's the only time in this book where you'll label something 2 things. It'll say noun and then subject, or pronoun and subject. So that's the only time you will have 2 on top of each other. So here's your example. The princess was a thief. So we know we're talking about the princess, and that word was is linking the subject princess to, this would be another noun describing her kind of in a way, because the princess was a thief. Okay, so it's another noun or another name for her. The fruit tasted delicious. So we're talking about the fruit, that's the subject, and then how it tasted. Remember, that's one of the linking verbs for the 5 senses. And then delicious is the adjective describing the fruit. So that linking verb connects other words in the sentence, okay? That's what you just need to remember. When a noun follows a linking verb, it renames the subject. In the first sentence above, the linking verb was links the subject to princess, the princess to a noun, thief. The noun thief follows the linking verb and renames the subject princess. So it's basically saying princess and thief are the same thing, basically. It's talking about the princess, but it's renaming her a thief. When an adjective follows the linking verb, it describes the subject. And we already talked about that for this one. The fruit tasted delicious. Delicious is describing that subject fruit. And down here on the bottom, you have the list again. So this would be a good page if you have a Post-it note to stick on the top here for linking verbs. And this would be good to help you when you do your homework. So I always like to use the, when you take off the sticky, the part that's sticky goes down so that this sticks up. And then I'm just going to write linking verbs at the top here like this, and then you just stick it above the page, just like you did the other one for prepositions back here, okay? That way, when you are doing your homework and you forget what those verbs are, you can always go back to this page and look at that list. Any questions about linking verbs today? Nope, okay. And now we're gonna go right into the practice. So Nasaya, can you read the sentence today, please?
She sewed a bag. Her bag looked similar to the bag which the soldier owned.
Okay, good. And Nasaya, what does sewed mean?
It's a past tense version of sew, like sewing.
Yeah, like sewing. Can you explain what sewing is?
Sewing is when you have the ability to put two different pieces of cloth together.
There you go. And a needle and thread. And yes, I know you know what it is. Sometimes I like to challenge the students to how do you put that into words? Because that's good to practice. But you're right. Good job. The articles, go ahead and write them in at the top here. And then there's 3 of them, so you can find them by yourself and label them. Okay.
Okay, this may be weird, but my page is actually missing the articles.
Are you on page 57?
Yep, so I'll just go ahead and write them in at the top.
Weird. That is weird. Do you have the same sentence we have?
Oh. Oh, wait. Oh, hang on, please.
You have the wrong book? You're just now realizing it. Tyler, you probably have Jason's book, huh?
Yep.
Whoopsie. He's going to be like, what are you doing writing in my book?
No, I erased it. Let me just go get my
Okay.
book.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, William, how about the 4 nouns? Where are those at?
Bag.
Good.
The 2 bags.
There's 2 bags.
And there's a 3rd bag
There's
too.
a 3rd bag.
And soldier.
Okay, good.
All right, where were we?
We're on page 57.
57.
And then Nasaya, do you see the pronoun in there?
Okay, I
She,
have it.
Yes,
her,
just she actually, because her is telling whose bag. So that one becomes an adjective actually. So let's label her ADJ. Remember when you look for adjectives, you ask like whose or which one or how many or something like that. So her in this sentence is actually an adjective. And then William, where's the other adjective? There's 2. I mean, yeah, there are 2 in here.
Similar?
Yes, good. Because that's describing the bag. Another word to describe the bag. Okay, so we got those. And then next is prepositional phrase, but I'm going to come back to that. It's easier if you wait till that last. So how about, are you all caught up, Tyler?
Yep.
Where is the who which clause, Tyler?
Give me a second, please.
Yeah.
Okay, who which clause? Which the soldier? Or would
Yes,
it be just which the?
actually it goes all the way to owned.
Okay.
Which the soldier owned. So it completes that thought. So you want to make sure to make sure it goes all the way to the end there, which the soldier owned. And we're going to label it W/W. That's good. Now back to Nasaya. What about the verbs? We have 1, 2, 3 verbs in here. Those are the action words.
Sewed.
Yes.
Looked.
Yes, good. One more.
Owned.
Yes, good. So looked is one of those linking verbs. Remember, it's a 5 senses word. So that's a linking verb. And then owned and sewed are action verbs. And one way to notice is that they have endings ed. A lot of times verbs do ed or ing. Not always, but sometimes. But that was good. Got those. Now we need to find the subjects, William. So who was it that sewed a bag?
C.
Good. So when you're looking for subject, you ask who or what. This one, what? Well, listen, what looked similar?
Bag.
There you go. See, in this one, it's a thing, bag. And then inside the which clause, do you know what the subject is there? Who owned?
Soldier.
Good. So notice how I have two things labeled when there's a subject, pronoun and subject, noun and subject, noun and subject. That's the only time ever that you label something with two things, subject and noun or pronoun. Okay, good. Now back to the prepositional phrases. And there's only one, but I'll give you a big clue, Tyler. It starts with a preposition, and that's a word that is not labeled yet. Do you see which one is not labeled yet? Two. So what is the phrase? It ends on a noun.
To the bag.
There you go. To the bag. Nice. So remember, a prepositional phrase starts with a preposition, ends on a noun or a pronoun. And that's why I save it till last, because it's usually the one that's not marked yet. They set this book up like that, so it's easy to find.
So for, for the prepositional phrases, do we have to, is it just the underline that we have to do, or do we have to label prepositional phrase?
Nope, you don't have to label it, you're just underlining it. Yep, good question. Nasaya, what needs to be capitalized?
The H in her and the S in she.
Good, okay. And then William, what about the end mark?
Period.
Yep, good job, guys. That was it for that. So, and remember, we are using who, which clauses in our writing. And some of you keep forgetting and you want to underline the whole clause in your writing. When you're writing, you only underline who or which, okay? In this book, you're putting parentheses around the clause. So it's a little different. You got to remember the difference there. And then, of course, you're going to write this down later after class, and your homework will be 58 through 60. Now, I am assigning homework this week. And I'm hoping, I know it's Thursday, so I'm hoping you guys can get it done by Sunday so that you can really have the next week off, okay? So hopefully you guys can get to your homework sooner than later for that reason.
I've been trying just for sometimes it's hard to get to.
Yeah, I understand. Sometimes the weeks are busier than normal. I get that. I'm just suggesting that way it's not like I mean, technically, here's an idea too, but it would be a long wait, but you could wait until after Thanksgiving and then work on it. So it's up to you when you want to do your homework.
Or you could just get it all done today.
That's what I'm thinking. That's how I would do it if it were me. And then it's like out of my head. I don't even have to try to remember. It's already done. So, okay. Go ahead and get out your binders and get out King Midas. Everything you have for King Midas. Okay. And I did get a chance to grade everybody's homework. So surprise. I'm going to look at that really quick. Let's see. And you guys did pretty good with this. I'm just going to peek here. I think Nisaya, I don't see yours yet. So you haven't had a chance to finish it yet. I don't
Me-
think, right?
Speaking of homework, I could not find it all what you were talking about because I was just like shut down at that moment.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're talking about
Yeah,
my notes that I put in here?
yes.
Did I forget?
Did you put it on the paragraph or
Let me see.
because you said that?
Oh, no, I didn't put any notes on your document. I just wrote you a note in Google Classroom. I basically said,
Yeah, but I thought I had one of the each dress ups underlined.
yeah, in the last paragraph, you accidentally underlined 2 and you only needed 1.
Yeah, and then I did it. Okay, I must have confused that for the other one.
Oh, yeah, because I graded a couple of things this morning. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not that big of a deal. I mean, you still got full credit because I really liked your story. You still did a great job with it. So I was just pointing that out for next time. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So Nisaya, have you had a chance to write your story yet? For King Midas?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure I saw it. Let me look again.
Tell her what's going on.
Let's see. For some reason, I don't see it in here. Hold on a second. Oh yeah, it's there. Sorry, that was my fault. It's there. Did you get a chance to read my note in the homework?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
Okay, that's okay. That was just this morning, so that's okay. But I do want you to check your email or you can see my note either way. It should come through as an email, but then you go to Google Classroom and then you can see my note there too. So I liked your story. I thought you did a great job with it. And for some reason, the format got a little wonky on that. I'm not sure what happened there. But when you go to Google Docs to start typing, make sure you set it on double space before you even start. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Are we gonna put King Midas away today?
Yeah, in just a second. Not yet, though. Okay. Does that make sense, Messiah?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Do you know what happened or no?
No, not exactly.
Sometimes it does weird stuff like that. So I could figure out what you were trying to say. So that was okay. But then the other big thing that I need you to remember is the checklist, underlining those dress up words, because that's a big part of the assignment. Okay. So if you want to go back and fix that, I can change your grade. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just letting you know because you did a great job. I don't want you to feel like it was bad. I liked what you wrote, but you were forgetting a few things. So, and then let me look at Williams really quick. Let's see. Did you see my note yet, William? Not yet. Okay. I liked your story too, what you have here, but you did forget your dress ups too. You know what those are when I say dress ups? Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to share my screen really quick here to remind you guys. That is how I grade your work. Okay. So if you didn't get 10 points, that means you forgot something. And usually it's something from your checklist. So I'm just going to go over this again with you really quick. Because this is how I grade your homework. Okay. All the stuff on top here, that's about how to set up your page with your name and date on the left-hand side, your title. Remember, the title only comes in when you finish your paper. And then right here is, I would say this right here is the most important part where it says style. Right now you only have 2, but I'm telling you this list is going to get big. The more we get into this binder, the list is going to get long. So it's best if you start getting into the habit of putting these dress ups in here. Now, I have noticed that some of you put a check mark by it because I see your checklist. And then I go to look at your story and it's not there. So don't check these until after you put them in your story. Okay. This should be in each paragraph. So for King Midas, there were 3 paragraphs. Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. You should have an ly adverb and who or which in each paragraph. This is super, super important because this is the part of the class where you're really learning how to give your writing more style. And that's what this is about. You guys all are good writers. I don't want you to think you're bad because you're good, but I want to try to help you get to excellent. Okay. So we're going to just keep leveling it up. Is that my phone? No, I think somebody else's. Oh, I heard a buzz. Probably was yours, Tyler. Let's see, where are we? Oh, okay, good. I saw your note, Tyler. So yeah, that is what you need to do. So what I recommend when you go to sit down to write or type your paragraph, have this right next to you, okay? And you make sure to go down each item on the checklist. This is super, super important. It says underline one of each. You can have more than one. Like Tyler, I noticed Tyler had a couple in his paragraph. That's fantastic. I like it. But you only need to underline one of them so that when I pull up your page, I can quickly see, did you hit those dress ups? Okay, good, they're there. Because what I'm going to start doing is I won't even read your story until I see that you've got your dress ups there. And then I'll send it back to you and say, okay, you got to add your dress ups and send it back and I'll give you a grade. So, okay, Tyler, did you have a question?
So for the paragraphs, do we only underline one and then we continue going with the other ones? But we can have more in the paragraph.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So you look at this list and just make sure you have at least one. But notice here on the checklist, it says underline one of each. You only have to underline one, but you can have 2 or 3 or, however many you want to add to it. Same with who, which. Now, when you have a who, which clause, like I said earlier, don't underline the whole clause. You're just underlining the word who or the word which, whichever one you're using. And I only need one, but you can add more than that, but you only need to underline one. Okay, does that make sense, Tyler? Okay, good. Good, William, I see that thumbs up. Are you good, Nasiah? Makes sense? Okay, so I'm going to be looking for that this next time here. Go ahead and put away now King Midas behind finished compositions. And I do want to say while you're working on that, some students are saying their binder is so full, it's starting to kind of like pop open when you open the rings and stuff is getting too full in there. If that's happening to you, I want you to take out the finished compositions and put it somewhere else, like not the tab, but the stuff behind it. You can put in a folder or another binder to free up some space in here if it ever gets too full. But King Midas is going to go behind your finished compositions now. Okay. So put that back there.
So could we take out if we had to take out one, could we take out like the first composition that we did?
You can take out all the old ones because we're done with those. If it's making it too difficult in your binder, if it's too full, we're not going to really go back to those old ones. So you can move them to a different binder. Or folder, a file folder or whatever you want to keep it at. And then go to the source text tab. That's where we get the next story. It's week 7. So you're going to take out week 7 and it's 1, 2, 3, 4 pages long. Okay, when you see week 8, leave that one there. You also need a lined piece of paper, so make sure you get that out too. And then give me a thumbs up when you're all set. Okay, thank you. I see that, Messiah. Tyler, William, you guys good? Okay, I see that, William. How about you, Tyler? Not yet? Okay. One piece of line paper and then all of week 7. Okay, good. Let's start with the blue page in this set of papers here. This is page 57 from what you just took out. So we're going to start on this blue page. Now, at the top of the page, you're going to see that word banned words list. Now, banned means not allowed. And so these are words that you are no longer able to use. I see you laughing there, Tyler. Do you remember these from before? Banned words? Okay. So it's not because these banned words are bad. I'm not talking about like bad words, okay? But we're talking about boring words. This binder is going to really challenge your brain to think of better words to use. So from now on, we're going to start taking away from your writing some of these words. The first one is going to be say, and you're going to put it right here where that diagonal line is at the top. Say, said. It's like it's crossed out, right? So write say, said at the top. That means present tense and past tense of the word say. That means up here at the box at the top, you cannot use those words anymore because they're boring. Instead of saying said, like, you know, King Midas said, and the stranger said, and the daughter said, or whatever, you can't use said anymore because it's boring. So we need to come up with a list of words that are good to use, that are better than say or said. Does anybody have any ideas of what you could put instead of that? William?
Complained.
Oh, I like that. Complained, yes. And there's a bunch of them. We won't be able to fit them all in this box. But there's a bunch of them you can use. And if you need to use a thesaurus when you're writing, I recommend that. Tyler, did you think of another one?
Speeched.
Did you say it again?
Speeched.
Speeched. Yeah, I think you're thinking of like spoke, maybe. We could say you could use spoke. Speeched is not really a word. The past tense of speak is spoke. You could say yelled if somebody's excited or mad or something like that. What's another way a character says something, Nasiah?
Told.
Yes, good. I like that. William?
Screamed.
Yes. What if they say it in a quiet way? What's a word for that? Nasiah?
Murmured.
Murmured. I like that. Murmured. Did I spell that right? Oops. Hold on a second. I was gonna look it up and I dropped my phone. Murmured. Murmured. Yeah, I got it. It just looks weird. It's one of those words we don't use very often. Anybody else have an idea? William, you have another one?
Mumbled.
Mumbled. Yeah, we learned that one with the bald man and the fly. Tyler?
Let me make sure I'm saying this right first. Okay. Rambled.
Rambled. Good one. Rambled.
Chimed.
What'd you say?
CHIMED.
Chimed, like chimed in. Yeah. Okay, that's about all we can fit. But if you're looking it up, which it sounds like you're looking up some words, you can look it up online and type in Google, what's another word for said? If you don't like any of these for your writing, you can do that. Okay, we have one other, and it is saw. So now we can't use see or saw anymore because they're boring. We're going to use better words now. So who has an idea of what you could put instead of see or saw? Maybe spied. Or observed. William?
Watch.
Watched. Good. And then notice I'm using all these past tense words because normally when we do our stories, we write in past tense. So that makes it a little easier. William, you have your emoji hand up. There you go. Nasiah, did you think of one?
Witnessed.
Yes, good one. How about like spotted? Like you spotted a owl in the tree or something. William?
Noticed.
Oh yeah, that's a really good one too. Noticed. You guys are good. You could even say looked, like looked at. Or gazed. Gazed at. Okay, that's a pretty good list. Let's stop there. If you think of others and you have room, you can add more. But like I said, use a thesaurus if you have one at home or online if your parents are okay with that. You can look up another word for saw or to see, and you can get more ideas other places. So, but from now on, say, said, and see, saw are no longer allowed in your writing. Okay. So try to think of better words to use for those. All right. Now I want you to get out your lined piece of paper. Next. And we are going to set up another story sequence chart for this story about the opossum. Some people call it possum. It's kind of one of those tomato type words where it's pronounced different ways. But this is spelled with an O, so I'm going to call it opossum. But anyway, put your name here, and then the date is 11/16/23 already. And the title is kind of long, so make sure you leave room for it. Why opossum has, and the letter A is lowercase, everything else is capital, bare tail. Now that word bare means like if you're barefoot, you don't have any shoes or socks on, right? So, or naked is another word for it. So this tail does not have any hair on it. That's why they're calling it a bare tail. So there's a fun, kind of a silly story of how that happened. And you'll see this is totally made up. Okay. This is a fiction story, which means it's not real. And you'll see why in a minute. But underneath that, let's put SSC. Who remembers what SSC stands for? Tyler?
I think, I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's story sequence chart.
Yes, it is. Very good. Thank you for that. You're going to skip a line, and then we're going to kind of a little bit to the left. Draw a line down, doesn't have to be perfect. And this is where we set up our outline on this side. Skip a line and then Roman numeral 2. Skip a line, Roman numeral 3. My pen is making a mess here. Okay, and then remember right above those Roman numerals, we're just going to trace that line across. So we're making a little chart here. And I go a little bit past the pink line because I want to give myself plenty of room. These are just our notes. So it's okay to go past when we're doing notes here. When you're writing your paragraph, if you're handwriting it, you don't want to go too far past that pink line. Thumbs up when you got that set up. Okay, I see that, Tyler. Thank you, Nisaya. Okay, you can keep working on it, William. Who remembers when we talk about a story? We talked about this before with Kung Fu Panda, and I think we talked about the Mario movie. What do we usually introduce over here at the beginning of a story? Nisaya.
Who, what, when.
Yes, we talk about, you're right, the characters, and I'm going to put / setting. And you're right, we answer these questions. Who, and it's actually instead of what, it's going to be where. Did you say where? I think you did say where. Okay. It's going to be who, where, and when. You were right, Nisaya. So the characters and setting and who, where, and when, those are the questions we answer usually in that first paragraph when we're introducing a story. Because, you know, if you go right into the big plot of the story without knowing the characters, it's confusing. So that's the best way to do it when you're writing a story. Our story is going to be 3 paragraphs. This story that we're going to read in a minute has more than that, but we're going to condense it down into 3. And what goes usually in the middle? What happens usually in the middle of a story after we introduce the characters? William, what happens next?
The problem.
Yes, and the other word is conflict. So we're going to put conflict / problem. And we ask that question, what? So what is the problem? What does the character need? What does the character want? What is the character saying and doing and all that stuff? So this is usually the middle of the plot. This is like, usually there's a problem. And then at the end, Tyler, do you remember what happens here after the problem?
Like the outcome where he's at like the top of it. And so he's trying to get to the good side of it.
Yes. Do you remember what that word was? It starts with a C. It's climax.
Climax?
There you go. Climax. That's an I right there, by the way. Climax / and the other word was resolution. And that basically is telling how solved. So we have the characters and the settings, like where they are, who they are. We have the problem in the middle. And then the rest of the story is like how it's unfolding. And you were thinking of that little mountain we drew last time and the little guy at the top, and one side was good and one side was bad. Basically saying, is the story going to be a happy ending or a tragic ending? We don't know. And I'm not going to tell you the ending of this one. You're going to have to just find out. All right, now that we have this all set, though, we're going to read the story, and I want you to be thinking of, as I'm reading it, who the characters are in the story and the setting, what the conflict and the problem is in the story, and then how it's resolved at the end. So let's move on to the actual story. And it's called Why Opossum Has a Bare Tail. Now, do you guys know what a possum is, or an opossum or a possum? Okay, good. So they have these tails that look like a big rat tail, but the rest of their bodies are furry. So they're kind of cute and ugly at the same time, in my opinion. But anyway, this is a pretend story of how they got their bear tail. So long ago, when the first animals roamed the land and all of them could talk, opossum had a long, white, furry tail. So right away, that very first sentence, we know this is fiction. This is not real. The animals are talking. I know animals make sounds and they communicate with each other, but talking implies they speak English or words. And then, of course, we know that the opossum has never had a long white furry tail. So right out of the very beginning of the story, we know it's made up. Did you want to say something, Tyler? Did you put it in the chat? I see you have something here. Oh, yeah, they're small like skunks. And they have a cute little face, kind of like skunks. I would say similar, maybe, yeah. But not at the same time. I don't know if they're in the rat family or what kind of group they're in, but anyway, they're small like that though. Okay. He was proud of his tail, but one afternoon he spied Raccoon preening himself on a branch of a tree. By the way, preening is like a cat that licks their paws, you know, they lick their bodies to keep them clean. So he's cleaning himself. Raccoon's tail, with its lustrous rings, looked so elegant in the setting sun that Opossum became jealous and wished for such a tail. So he waddled over to Raccoon's tree, looked up, and asked politely, "How did you get those pretty rings on your tail?" Now, Raccoon was a haughty and mischievous character who looked down upon Opossum. Okay, so let me explain that a little bit. He is in the tree, so he's literally looking down, but he's also like thinking he's all that, right? He's looking down on Opossum like Opossum is just a rat or something, you know, he's just a nobody. But Raccoon, he's a somebody. Like that's his attitude. Like he's all proud and kind of like thinking he's all that. And then that word mischievous means he is maybe planning a trick, which we'll find out here in a second. Raccoon, oh, well, no, right now. Raccoon determined to play a cruel trick on him. See, there you go. Well, I wrapped cedar bark around my tail here and here and here and here, he demonstrated. Then I placed my tail in the coals of a fire, and the fur between the bark turned black, but the rest remained white, as you can see. Even though raccoons' tails are more kind of like a brown and black, this one is a white and black tail. So that's how he's saying he got his rings, okay? Thanking Raccoon, see, Opossum has no idea yet. Opossum rushed away to gather some cedar bark. He wrapped strips around his tail just as Raccoon had instructed. Then he went to the clearing in the forest where many of the animals were enjoying a big bonfire. When the fire died down, he turned and placed his tail in the red-hot coals. However, the coals were still so hot that Opossum's fur and the bark caught fire. His tail was burning like a torch. He panicked and jumped into the pond to put out the flames. When Opossum saw his poor naked tail, he wailed and moaned. Although he waited for years for his lovely white tail fur to grow back, it never did because the tail was too badly burnt. It remained bare for the rest of his life, and all his children, and all his children's children, and all his children's children's children have had bare tails ever since. And there he is. He's holding his tail like, oh, why did I listen to that raccoon? Look at this tail. It's embarrassing. So there you have it. Totally made up story, obviously. Kind of funny, kind of sad, kind of tragic. Maybe the little guy at the top of the mountain went to the bad side on this one. But anyway, that is how they say he has a bear tail, and there he is. And he kind of does look in the head a little bit like a skunk. They have a similar type of face. All right, so back to the story sequence chart. We're starting with characters. So William, who was the main character at the beginning of the story? And you can look back at that first paragraph to kind of refresh your memory there. Who came in
The
first?
possum.
Yes. So we're going to talk about him first. Opossum. And William, in the beginning, before all this stuff happened to him, what was his personality like, would you say? Like, what's a word?
Tricky.
Say that again.
Tricky.
Tricky? Is that what you said?
Tricky.
Oh, picky? Okay, maybe picky. There might be a couple other different words here at the beginning. How did he feel about his tail when it was big, white, and fluffy?
Proud.
Proud. I'm thinking proud would be a good one. Proud. But then he saw Raccoon's tail and he became jealous, right? Remember when we talked about King Midas, and King Midas already had all the gold, but then he wanted more? It's like a possum. He had a beautiful tail, but then he saw raccoons and he's like, ooh, I want stripes now. I want even a prettier tail. So what word could we use to describe that, William? Same word we used for King Midas.
Wanting.
Yeah. Or I'm thinking of this one, greedy. He already had a nice tail, but he wanted a nicer one. He should have just been thankful for what he had, right? Because then this wouldn't have happened to him. All right. So, and then Nasiah, let's describe a little bit about his tail next here. So what was his tail like in the beginning of the story?
White and fluffy.
White and fluffy. Yes. And long. So let's put long, white, and fluffy. I know in the story it says furry, but I like fluffy. I always think of that like a cat's tail, right? Theirs are usually pretty fluffy. And then who's the next character that comes in, Tyler?
Raccoon.
Yes. And Raccoon, what is so special about his tail?
It has rings.
It has rings and it's beautiful. We could say elegant. It says that in the story, elegant. Or lustrous was another word we could use there. What do you think we should put, Tyler, to describe his tail with the rings?
Elegant.
Elegant. Okay. Let's put that. Elegant. And then if you guys want to put something different, you can. Everybody's outline can be different. You don't have to copy it exact. All right. And then this is when Opossum looks up into the tree. I'm going to put an O with a circle around it. And I'm also going to circle it in the title just so that we can remember that's a symbol now for opossum. And I'm going to draw a little tree here, like a little Christmas tree. And he looks up into the tree, right? And he says, how did you get that pretty tail? Now, if you put speaking parts in your story, which I encourage you to do that, remember, you can't say or said anymore. So you could use a word here like inquired. That would be a good one. So the opossum inquired. How? That means a question, right? How? Or you could say opossum asked. That would be another good one to put here, but don't say said or say. Okay, now we're moving on to this part. So we're moving into the problem now, because we got the background set up, got the characters. They're in the forest. He's looking up in the tree, right? And then Raccoon, I'm going to put Raccoon next here. What does he plan, William? What does he plan? He's like,
A cruel trick.
a cruel trick. Yes. Because he is, remember the word was haughty, Haughty. That's telling about his character. He was haughty and mischievous, and he planned a cruel trick. And what does he say to do, Nisaya?
To wrap bark around certain parts of his tail.
Yes,
Like
wrap.
put it in some coal.
Yes, good. Wrap tail with bark. I'm going to put that first, and then next, you're right. Let's see. He also says put tail fire. And what did he say would happen, Tyler? Go ahead.
Well, would it have been actually coal, not fire?
You could use coal, hot
Oh.
coals. Yeah, you could. You're right. So basically the way a fire works is you use wood or yeah, usually you would light the wood on fire, and then when it settles down and it gets really, really hot, they kind of glow. And the wood is not wood anymore. They're coals, right? They turn into coals. But you could say that either way. So Tyler, what did he say would happen if he did that?
Okay, what?
What did Raccoon say would happen if Opossum put his tail, if he wrapped it with the bark, put it in the fire? What did he say would happen? Remember after he says then,
His tail would turn black.
yes, turn black and white, and some would stay white, right? We could just put turn black, white, so some of it would turn black with the rings, right? So you can put that however it makes sense to you. But he's basically saying, and we'll put this in quotes too, what will happen. So, and that's the trick. That's the problem, right? Here's the problem in the story. And we're going to still talk a little bit more about the problem, even though we're going to head into the climax here. So what did Opossum do? He did exactly what Raccoon said. And he put his tail in the bonfire, right? Let me check the time really quick. Okay, we're good. So Opossum, I'm going to put O here for that symbol. Let's see, how could we say this? He wrapped his tail and he put it in the bonfire. Tail.
You could say that he listened to
Yes, I like that better. I'm going to
raccoon.
like that. Yeah, he listened. I like that. Good. Tail, and then we could put coals here. And then the worst happened. So it caught on fire, right? His tail was like a torch. I'm going to put here, tail burned torch. And then he panicked, right? And how did he get the fire out, William?
He jumped into a pond.
Jumped pond. And then, so this is how it's getting resolved now. He had that problem. He had a couple problems, right? Poor Opossum. One problem was he was greedy and he wanted to change his tail. He should have just stopped right there and said, I need to be thankful for my tail. But so that was a problem. He wanted a better tail. The second big problem is right here. He totally caught on fire. And now he's panicking and he jumped in the pond and now he got the fire out. So then at the end, Nisaya, what did it say about his tail at the end?
It burned Bear and was so badly burned that his tail couldn't grow back more fluffy hair.
Right? And then it talked about his children and his children's children and his children's children. So basically forever until the end of time, now opossum has a bare tail. So I think I'm going to put that word hair and then I'm going to circle it and put a line over it, no hair. And then I'm just going to put children's children and then ... Right? That just, you can say that part, and or if you have a different way of putting that at the end, you can change that. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine. But basically that was the end of the story. No more hair on the tail. It looks like a rat's tail forever and ever. Okay, so we did it. We got the story sequence chart. Here is the sequence. We only have 4 sentences in each paragraph, so it's not very long. If you want to add to this story, you can. Okay, you can add information, a little bit more details if you want to tell a little bit more about the characters or the setting or the situation. You could say, you know, while his tail was on fire, he was screaming and running around the forest. And, you know, you can add stuff like that if you want. You can add information. But the most important thing is the checklist. So let's look at that. Everybody look at your checklist on page 59. Super duper important for you guys to get used to this. This top part is pretty much the same as how to set up your page. Make sure you double space. And you're going to give it a new title when you get done with that last paragraph. The title rule is right here in the middle of the top part. But right here, you're going to notice something new under style. You have ly adverb, who, which, clause, and now you have a strong verb. I forgot to tell you, on this list, I erased mine. These words that you put here to use in place of say, said, or seesaw, those are considered strong verbs. So you can use one of these words and underline it as a strong verb. Does that make sense to you guys? In fact, on the top of this page, I want you to write that so you remember. At the very top here, I want you to put strong verbs. That way you can remember the ones that we listed here in place of the band words. Those are strong verbs. You can use those. Anything that tells an action, those are going to be strong verbs. Okay, back to this. Notice underneath where it says strong verb, you have check for banned words. That's a new list that we're starting. We're going to add more as we go. But right now we just have say, said, and see, saw. So that's why it's really important to have this checklist right next to you when you start writing. This is what I'm looking for. This is how I grade your homework. So you should have these three dress ups in each paragraph. Like I told you earlier, this list is going to keep growing. Eventually, you're going to have 6, and you'll have a whole bunch of banned words that you can't use. It's just going to keep growing, okay? So that's what's helping your writing become better with style, okay? This is giving your writing more style. So make sure to have this checklist right next to you when you write. You guys have any questions? Okay, so your homework is to write. Do you have a question, William? Okay, your homework is to write your 3 paragraphs. You're going to write it. You can add more details if you want. And make sure to use this. Make sure to use your checklist, okay? All right, well, happy Thanksgiving to you guys. I hope you have fun with your families next week. And no class next week, so I'll see you in 2 weeks, okay? All right, bye, guys.
I'll